Hello, everybody. My name is Avery Jarrell Brown. I'm here today to persuade you in understanding that politicians make a little bit too much money. Now, me as a military member, I will let you know that we don't make a lot of money. But at the same time, these politicians make a lot of money, all right? So the overview for today is pretty much why do politicians make so much money? How does other countries look at their politicians and how much they make? And how does our American public feel about our politicians, the American politicians, making so much money? And then how can we fix the problem? So first, I would like to define what a politician is. A politician is a seeker or holder of public office who is more concerned about winning or the favor of maintaining those principles. Now that's in the Webster's Dictionary. So if that's in the Webster's Dictionary, that's pretty much the blatant, underlining of what we're trying to discuss today. We're talking about integrity. We're talking about hope and everything those things that our American flag represents. But politicians, in a sense, they don't have our best interests at first glance. So we talk about why politicians make so much money. They have a bunch of tasks to complete. We can all say that. They create jobs. They benefit our health care. They lobby our taxes. They persuade other companies to trade with us. And they induce money for the banks and the different crises that we have, such as financial crises, such as the banking crisis that we had in 2008 through 2011. But let's get to the real question. How much do those politicians make? They roughly make $174,000 a year. Now, from that we can take away a lot. What is that $174,000 doing? Is it their base salary? Is it incentive pay? What is it? It's pretty much their base salary that they get. Blatant, that's what they get. And from that they have many other incentives from travel, which come to airfare, rental car, security. They have different speaking engagements they have to go to. They have different areas of the world they go to. And our taxes pay for that. They do that without any liability, without any monetary gains going towards that. So we can talk about what incentives that they have and how much pay they make outside of those engagements of being a politician. They have speaking engagements. Hillary Clinton makes about $200,000 a speech on the average. We have her husband, Bill Clinton, who makes $750,000 for a speech on average. This is according to Forbes and IBM Times. Now, George Bush, between the years that he had from the Air Force to being a senator, he made roughly $15 million not each year, but together in speaking engagements. Now, to transition from that, we can talk about how other countries feel about, or how much those countries make. I want to particularly take a look at France, Canada, and Britain. Now, Canada makes on average $135,000 a year. They're politicians. Now, if you equate that with us in '74, that's a $4,000 leeway right there. You have Britain, who makes $66,000 in pounds. So if you equate that with the dollar, you have $1.5 to the pound. They're roughly making probably $120,000 to $130,000 also. You have France, which France, they make 53,000 euros, and with the dollar, it's $1.3 to a euro. But at the same time, that might go up to 120, 130, 140 also. So we're still looking at a leeway of $30,000 to $40,000 between how much the richest country in the world is paying their politicians and how everybody else in the world are paying theirs. So with that, we can say two things. Maybe our politicians aren't doing as well because of the monetary gains they're making, because you have different countries that are doing a lot better than America, such as Canada, such as Britain. But at the same time, they're still living in a conservatory, basis when it comes to paying their politicians. So, how does the American public feel about our politicians making so much money? You have NPR, which is National Public Radio, says that 52% of Americans are upset with politicians when it comes to taxes scenarios and paying our politicians and giving them money because they understand how much they're worth and they understand how much they're getting paid. So with that, we can go to the military because that's what we are. We understand that as a force, we don't get as paid as much as the average person or the average middle class, so to speak. So we can say most military individuals, according to NPR, feel like politics is all about money situations. 44% of the American public feel that the government has lost support for military members. So with that, everybody that we know, such as military individuals, such as veterans, feel like we have no type of support when it comes to the government. You know, we don't get paid as much. We do hard jobs. We work 12 hours a shift. We work these sometimes 70 O's. We go through these inspections. Nobody cares. But at the same time, we have politicians getting census pay, going to different places in the world, which they're working. They're doing necessary things to keep this country running. But at the same time, some Americans, they don't get that. And sometimes we don't get that. And it doesn't matter because they get paid $174,000 a year. Most of us in here get paid roughly $25,000 to $30,000 a year. And we do a lot more. So next we can say, how can we fix that problem? By petitioning, by voting. In the state of Wyoming, in which we are in, only 275,000 people voted. It's a state with 1.5 million people. You know, the graphical area of it is huge. I mean, you have so many people in this area who don't vote, who don't care to vote. They're veterans, they're individuals who basically just don't care about the government. But they always have something to say. These veterans always have something to say. They always have a voice. And that petitioning and voting can lead to their voice. Petitioning itself can do a lot for us as individuals just trying to bring awareness to our politicians having too much, you know, of the national wealth. You know, us as individuals can understand that, you know, us petitioning, seeing it in different racial outlets, such as racial discrimination, such as all the diseases that we see on TV, such as any campaign that we ever seen that's giving money or proceeds to someone to deal with a petition or somebody starting a cause, and that's going to be us. You know, so with that, we can see that how petitioning can gain a great way to get influence in America. You know, based off social media sites such as Facebook and different things like that, you can see that anything you do, GoFundMe accounts and all that, they lead to so much money and revenue for individuals who build a broad base for awareness. And we don't need the money, we just need to affect change. And that's what we're about. So, let's deal with I'm ending on this note. Politicians get paid too much. The national debt is some odd $1 trillion. You know, we have these individuals in politics that make so much on incentives, so much on their regular salaries doing stuff. From the Everglades here, you know, their salary is humongous. And our national debt is, you know, trillions of dollars. You know, most people feel like politicians, you know, get paid so much. So that means that we need to cause some change and get active and bring awareness. And we can fix those problems through the, you know, petitioning and voting and adding structure to those type of politics or politicians who make a little bit too much. Now, right now, I'm going to bring it for any questioning. Does anybody have any questions?
So how do you feel that some of our higher generals in the military still make less than the majority of politicians who do not, I believe, do not do as much for our country as our generals and lieutenant generals and all that?
Well, I feel like it's not right because you understand that what a general does, he moves and commands and controls an assortment of people. You know, most generals have a whole command under them can range from 20,000 to 30,000 airmen. That's you directly supervising people in those chains, stuff, paperwork from the lowest airman or lowest soldier or lowest, seaman goes all the way up, you know, to that general, you know. So with that, you can say how much do what areas make, you know what I'm saying? We understand what generals make. I believe they make around roughly $80,000 to $90,000 a year with their incentives and travel and stuff like that. But $174,000, you're making about $15 million over some of 13 years of doing speeches and different engagements, going to parties and hosting things, you know, it isn't right because that individual has paid his tribute to the American public in a way that you would never understand. You know, he signed his name on a dotted line. He gave his life to a society. You know, you're giving, this is your job. You know, it's not your career. It's not something you're prideful about. You know, you do it because you have to. He does it because he needs to. You know what I'm saying? It's a difference. Any other questions?
Yes, how do you believe, like, is there a way that, like, all the other countries that have, obviously, all their politicians have a lower salary compared to the U.S., do you think that there's, like, a way that they can have it pretty much on the same borderline?
Well, we have different things like NAFTA, which is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. You have things in Europe that coincides with NAFTA and everything. They organize each other and they try to get the trade from different groups, the tariffs and everything, to be the same. So if you can have people like that try to organize things and make stuff equal, you can have individuals in, you know, America to bring the level down so we can increase different things, so we can bring goods or services different places, or we can pay different people different ways. In our case, the military, we don't get paid as much as those politicians. So we would like to see a different change of pace, you know, in different areas of the world, like in Africa, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, they don't have food and water, but you have to make $174,000 a year. But they're giving aid to individuals out there, and we still $1 trillion of debt. So it is ways that I think people we just need to organize those different playing fields. Like you need to go and, you know, look at different countries and see how they monitor themselves a little better, you know, because I don't think America is doing it, you know. So, but thank you for your questions. You know, I'll go back over what this is about. It's about politicians that are making too much money. My conclusion was about how much they make, which is $174,000 a year. It was more or less how the American populace feel about politicians making that much money. It was, we answered the question of how many other countries and how much their politicians make, and also we asked how can we fix those problems through the petitioning and voting. And I want to thank you for your time, and you know, if you need anything, just make sure you contact me. Thank you again.